Hello and welcome to the Neuro Rich podcast. This is the second episode on our series on James Clear, and last episode we left you off with this beautiful little cliffhanger talking about how we can stay motivated during the time when we are stuck in the plateau of latent potential and how we can avoid disappointment in the valley of disappointment. All right, Maya. So what was it that you brought up and asked me last time? Just so we can get the audience back on track here.
Yeah, everyone back on track here. Okay, I'll just recap what I said last time. So on a personal level, I'm sure a lot of you guys have also felt like this before. I've been very, mental health low point in my life to the point where I've kind of just stopped doing basic, tasks. I don't brush my teeth. I barely shower. A lot of these, things that I don't do. And, trying to put these good habits back into my life. And the point is, how do you keep motivation when you don't see an actual change going on until way later?
Yes. And that's what I call a leading question, because it's going to beautifully put us on the path of talking about goals versus systems and how you should pretty much forget about goals. So if you think about it, what are goals intended to achieve? They're intended to be placed there so we can achieve a better life, more successful life, and fulfill our full potential. Is that right?
Yeah.
So if you're an entrepreneur, then your goal is to build $1 million business, right? If you're a coach, then your goal is to win the championship, right? So these are result-oriented goals. However, if you don't have the systems in place to get to the results, then what's the point of having the goals in the first place? So there lies the problem. When we go about our daily lives and when we look at our future in a goal-oriented manner, we fail to recognize and put importance on the value of systems. And systems are valuable. Why? Because they are the things that carry us to the destination, which is our goal. Not only that, but goals have 4 major problems. And these problems boil down to the following. Problem number 1 is that winners and losers have the same goals. So think about it.
Right.
If you're racing a marathon, then a lot of the people racing that marathon intend to win the marathon, right?
Yeah.
However, goal setting suffers from a serious case of survivorship bias. Meaning what? Meaning that we mistake the ambitious goals with the success that we see in the people who have achieved them. So we assume that anyone who comes up with ambitious goals, then they will eventually become successful. Give me a goal, Maya, in 5 years. What do you want to be? Where do you want to be at?
Like you say, my goal is to, I guess in terms of life-wise, maybe postgraduate studies. I want to go do my postgraduate degree.
In what?
Medicine.
Medicine. Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. So the goal is med school. What is your system of getting there?
Aha!
Right? Because every year, the UBC Med School rejects the overwhelming majority of people that apply to it. Last year, me was one of the people who got rejected. No problem. That doesn't mean my goal wasn't getting to med school. That just means that I wasn't able to achieve my goal because my system fell short of getting me there. Mm-hmm. So if you have goals, that's okay. The goals are always there. They're there to set direction for your life. And you need to have goals. But the implementation of a continuous system of small improvements is what will lead you to achieving those expected results.
Right.
By the way, same thing happens with Canada's action plan on climate. Every year they come out with more and more ambitious goals, and they've been doing that since 1980s. And this is a weird tangent, but we need to talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
And ever since 1980s, they've been giving bolder and bolder climate action plans, and every year they fail to meet them. It's sort of like the person that is trying to lose weight, and they say, okay, I'll lose 10 pounds this month. And then they go and eat unhealthily, and they end up putting on 10 pounds instead of losing 10 pounds.
That sounds like me.
So the next month, they say, okay, now I will lose 20 pounds. So the goal in of in itself hasn't really achieved anything. And if anything, it has been anti-productive. And we'll get into that shortly.
Right.
Second problem is that achieving a goal is only a momentary change. And what do we mean by that? What we mean is that goals give you a momentary boost of energy. They give you a momentary sensation of success once you achieve them. But then after achieving the goal, it is very easy to feel empty and out of sync with your life and just feeling sort of depressed because you've achieved the goal and now there's nothing to fight for. There's nothing to live for. There's nothing to go after. Tell me, Maya, have you had such a sensation? Like you set yourself up to do something, then you get to that point and then you're just like, what's the point? Right?
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of the time. Not if in fact most of the time. I guess I'm just I guess in my case like I just kind of put everything aside to achieve this single goal, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And just forget about everything else.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying sometimes you have to sacrifice the other systems that are in place for you in order to achieve that particular goal you're looking at, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and this is another problem with goal setting is that say you muster up the motivation to, for example, go and clean the clutter in your room, but then after that, again, within a week or two, the room is going to be messy. Why? Because there is no system in keeping the room clean, and then you have to go chasing that hard to find motivation. So achieving a goal only changes your life momentarily. In order to fix this, you need to fix the inputs and the outputs will fix themselves.
Okay, now that you say that, I kind of just want to like put something else up. Goals are also a problem because they conflict. Like there's a bunch of goals that I I set goals for myself and they conflict a lot.
Tell me more.
For example, like my goal is to like study a whole ton, right? But then my goal is also to take care of myself and my mental health and take breaks. But by taking care of mental health and taking breaks, I want to spend more time on my social life. I haven't had a social life, so I've been trying to like expand my horizons, talk to my friends, you know, get to do that for myself. But then it takes away time from my studying, and then I can't focus on my courses, and my grades start dropping, right? So I don't have a system. So when my everything starts colliding, what happens?
Yes, fair enough. That's because, as you said, the system is not in place to distribute necessary amount of time at the right ratio across your different goals. And of course, what ends up happening is you're going to restrict your happiness during the time that you're not achieving the other goals. So that's the third problem with goal setting. Goals restrict your happiness. And because the implicit assumption is that if you do reach certain goal, you're going to be happy, not only if you not reach that goal, you'll feel down and depressed, but also if in pursuit of that goal, you sacrifice reaching other goals, then you have further taken away the contentness out of your life. That's the biggest problem, in my opinion, with a goal-oriented mindset. It's not that setting the goal is the problem, it's that pursuing the goal only becomes problematic. This is because goals create an either-or conflict. Either you achieve your goal and are successful, or you fail and you are disappointed. You mentally box yourself into a narrow version of happiness. This is misguided, according to James Clear. It is unlikely that your actual path through life will match the exact journey you had in mind when you set out. So it makes no sense to restrict your satisfaction to one scenario when there are many paths to success. So, and this is me saying this, by expanding our definition of success, we will be happier and find joy in implementing our systems and achieving those tiny little changes. A systems first mentality, according to Clear, provides the antidote to feeling down and depressed because you're not reaching your goals and you're feeling disappointed. When you fall in love with the process rather than the product, you don't have to wait to give yourself permission to be happy. You can be satisfied anytime your system is running, and a system can be successful in many different forms. It can adapt and change to the way things are happening in your life. Things change. You adapt, so it makes no sense for you to be restricted to one singular path and objective. And then fourth problem, and this is the last problem with goals, is that they're at odds with long-term progress because they create a yo-yo effect. Every time you reach a goal, then all of a sudden you're back to square one, not feeling motivation to pursue a new goal. Sometimes people reach a goal and then they all of a sudden give up because then they feel empty. And this is sort of goes hand in hand with the second problem because it's a momentary change.
Right. So, like, I mean, have you ever felt that before? Like, you reach a certain goal and then you just kind of feel like you have to stop. Like, there's nothing else to do at that point.
Recently, for example, I was trying to reach a certain weight goal for myself. And sorry, like, a lot of my examples are weight related. That's because I've been focusing on that. As soon as I reached it, I felt great. And then I gave up immediately. And I jumped right back up exactly where I was 2 weeks before that. And this not only feels disappointing, but it also feels quite sad. However, had my system of routinely going to the gym and working towards a more healthy diet not been in place, then that jump back to where I was 2 weeks ago would have been a jump back to where I was 2 months ago. And that's where systems come into play. That's why a religious adherence to our systems allows us to perpetuate a long-term process that will determine success and progress for us in the future.
So by systems, you just mean like a scheduled commitment, right? You know, going to the gym, like let's say, I'm going to go to the gym every Thursday or something like that, right?
Yeah. It's actually more intense than that for me because I'm quite lazy. And if I say I'm going to go to the gym every Thursday, that's not going to happen.
Oh, I feel that.
I schedule personal training with my friend and a few of my friends together. So it's my brother and like a couple of my friends. We go to our training sessions 3 times a week at the exact specific time and exact specific place. And this happens routinely every single week. We will get into how to set these habits up in the later chapters. James Clear explains it in great detail of how we should set up these things in order for them to become routine.
Before we talk about it, I kind of feel like, before like we talk about what James Clear said, I'm still kind of interested in like bringing that up, right? It's actually kind of easier to just like commit to things when you have other people with you, right?
Yes. And that's because the point of other people being there is not only they push you, but you also feel a responsibility to those people.
Exactly. Peer pressure is real. Like, not like the bad peer pressure, but like the good peer pressure, right? Like, you want to be there for your friends and your family, you know? Like, but you also, you want to not disappoint them, and they also motivate you to do the thing, right? It's kind of like the difference between going and like let's say you go and watch a movie on your own. It's kind of less motivating to go do that by yourself than doing with a group of people, because then not only do you enjoy the company, you have a good time, you also have a reason to keep coming back. There's like this intrinsic like reward to it. Like, it's not just like a habitual thing, but it's also like a burst of like, I guess, dopamine, being with like people that you like around you. And I feel like I think that's actually the smartest way to set something up like that. Not gonna lie.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned this, it reminded me that every time, for instance, my friends feel lazy and they don't want to come, at the end of the session, they always tell me this. They're like, listen, Farshad, we didn't want to come, but we came to see you and to hang out with you. And now that I've seen you, I not only feel great and happy, but I also feel enormously content and overjoyed because I spent an hour of my life in a very productive setting and I had fun doing that. So peers and peer pressure can obviously have bad side effects, but their power can also be weaponized to make you go forward, to improve yourself, and to make progress. Anything in life can be weaponized in your favor, or it can lead to your demise. So you need to be able to determine which side of the equation you want to be on. If you want to be on the side of taking small changes to grow yourself and improve yourself, perfect. But if you don't, then small errors will lead to complete dismantlement of your life. And that's where I want to end this episode. Before next episode, we get into how habits shape our identity and how the identity shapes our habits. With that said, this has been Farshad.
And that's been Maya.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.